There is a specific kind of silence that exists only in a crowded room. It is a heavy, velvet-textured quiet that settles behind your ribs while everyone around you is laughing. You are holding a drink, perhaps leaning against a cool wall in a flat in Berlin or a loft in Seattle, and you are watching the mouths move. You hear the cadence of their stories, the familiar rhythm of small talk, the predictable orbits of gossip and career complaints. You are nodding, performing the necessary social choreography, yet you feel as though you are standing on the far side of a glass partition. You are witnessing a ritual you no longer remember how to join. This is not the loneliness of being alone. This is the loneliness of being seen but not known. The profound isolation of a mind that speaks a high-resolution language in a world that has grown comfortable with low. Fidelity static. You have spent years wondering if there is something broken in your machinery. You look at the ease with which others inhabit their social skins, and you feel like a ghost haunting your own body. You wonder if you are arrogant or perhaps just cold. But that isn't it. The truth is much more visceral and much more ancient. You are experiencing the sophisticated language gap. Your mind does not function in the linear, utilitarian mode that modern society demands. While others are discussing the surface of things, your brain is busy mapping the subterranean routes. You are seeing the patterns of history in a casual remark about the news. You are feeling the collective anxiety of a generation in the way a friend avoids eye contact. You are operating at a different frequency. And the tragedy of the radio is that if you aren't tuned to the same station, the most beautiful symphony in the world sounds like nothing but noise. Consider for a moment the biological heritage of this restlessness. We live in a world designed for the specialist, a world that has been meticulously carved into silos of narrow expertise since the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. We are taught to be one thing, to speak one professional dialect, and to ignore the vast, interconnected web of the world. But your brain is a relic of a much older era. In the long history of our species, there was a vital role for the pattern seeker, the individual with high associative thinking who could connect the migration of birds to the coming of a drought, or the tension in a neighbor's voice to a fracture in the tribe's stability. This is what evolutionary psychologists call optimal foraging for information. Your ancestors survived because they were neophiliacs, lovers of the new and the complex, who could synthesize disparate signals into a coherent map of reality. In the modern landscape, this ancient gift has been rebranded as a pathology. We call it overthinking. We call it social anxiety. We call it being difficult. But in reality, it is a form of cognitive surplus that the current economy has no container for. The industrial world requires cogs, parts that fit perfectly into a machine and perform a single, repetitive function. When you bring your whole, multifaceted, divergent self to a dinner party or a board meeting, you are essentially trying to run a high-definition simulation on hardware built for a calculator. The system glitches. The connection fails. And so you retreat into the shadow, convinced that your depth is a defect. This leads us to a quiet rebellion against the modern obsession with the narrow. We are living through what might be called the digital panopticon, a state where every breath is expected to be monetized and every hobby must be a side hustle. We are told that to be successful is to be a specialist, to drill a hole so deep and so thin that we eventually lose sight of the sky. This is the specialist trap. It is a philosophy that views the human soul as a resource to be mined, rather than a garden to be tended. It demands that you amputate the parts of yourself that do not serve your LinkedIn identity. But for the generalist, for the overthinker, for the highly sensitive soul, this amputation is a form of slow-motion suicide. You cannot be happy as a fragment when you were born to be a whole. The loneliness you feel in social settings is often the result of this pressure to perform a simplified version of yourself. You are participating in a sunk cost fallacy of the personality, continuing to invest in a social mask because you have spent so much time building it, even though it is suffocating the real you. When you enter a room, you instinctively scan for depth. You are looking for someone who wants to discuss the architectural beauty of a grief-stricken thought, or the way the light hits the pavement after a storm, or the terrifying implications of artificial intelligence on the concept of the soul. Instead, you are met with the currency of the mundane. This creates a cognitive dissonance that is physically exhausting. It is not that you are too good for small talk. It is that your nervous system is tuned to a higher resolution, and the lack of detail in common interaction feels like sensory deprivation. But what if we reframed this isolation? What if your alien mind is not a sign of failure, but a prerequisite for the next stage of human evolution? We are entering an age where the specialist is being replaced by the algorithm. AI can calculate, it can narrow, and it can optimize better than any human cog ever could. What it cannot do is synthesize. It cannot find the poetic bridge between a symphony and a scientific breakthrough. It cannot feel the weight of a silence. The future belongs to the synthesizers, the M-shaped individuals who have the depth of a specialist but the horizontal reach of a philosopher. Your ability to see the connections that others ignore is not a curse. It is the ultimate human advantage in an automated world. To reclaim your sanity, you must move toward a philosophy of lifestyle design that honors your complexity. Think of your life not as a single career path, but as a portfolio of seasons. In some seasons, you may need the quiet of a library and the intense focus of a single project. In others, you may need to be a wanderer, collecting experiences and ideas like a botanist gathering rare seeds. This is the Wayfinder's path. It requires you to stop asking for permission to be multifaceted. It requires you to embrace the commonplace book of your existence, a physical or digital space where your divergent thoughts can live together without judgment. You must also learn to navigate the sophisticated language gap with a new kind of grace. Instead of waiting for others to meet you at your depth, you can become an architect of the bridge. Deep empathy is your secret weapon. When you feel that familiar wall rising between you and the person across the table, try to look for the hidden within them. Everyone carries a private universe of fears and unfulfilled dreams, often buried under layers of social conditioning. Your gift is the ability to perceive those shadows. Use it. Ask the question that no one else dares to ask. Instead of asking what they do, ask what they are currently unlearning. Instead of discussing the weather, discuss the last time they felt truly moved by a piece of music. You will find that many people are just as lonely as you are, huddled in their own silos, waiting for someone with a high-resolution heart to give them permission to speak. However, you must also accept that some gaps cannot be bridged. There will always be rooms where you are the only one who hears the music. There will always be people who see your complexity as a threat or a burden, and that is okay. The loneliness of the divergent mind is the price of admission for a life of depth. It is better to be a solitary lighthouse than a candle lost in a crowd of identical flames. Your solitude is not a prison. It is a sanctuary. It is the place where you process the raw data of the world and turn it into something meaningful. It is where you conduct the alchemy of synthesis, turning the lead of daily existence into the gold of insight. Remember that you are part of a hidden lineage. Throughout history, the people who moved the world were almost always those who felt out of step with it. They were the ones who sat at the edges of the campfire, looking at the stars while everyone else looked at the flames. They were the generalists who refused to be narrowed, the overthinkers who refused to be quieted, and the sensitive souls who refused to be hardened. You are not a glitch in the system. You are a witness to its limitations. So the next time you find yourself in that crowded room, feeling the weight of the sophisticated language gap, do not turn your frustration inward. Do not tell yourself that you are broken. Instead, take a deep breath and acknowledge the beauty of your own perspective. You are seeing the world in billions of colors, while others are content with gray. You are feeling the pulse of the universe in a way that is rare and precious. The loneliness you feel is simply the echo of your own depth. It is time to stop trying to shrink your soul to fit into rooms that were never meant to hold you. Seek the others who speak your language, but do not fear the silence when they are not there. Your life is not a linear climb toward a specialized peak. It is a vast, shimmering ocean. You are allowed to explore every coral reef and every dark trench. You are allowed to be many things at once. You are allowed to be an alien in a world of cogs. In the end, the goal is not to fix your loneliness, but to find peace within it. To understand that being different is the only way to be truly essential. You are the pattern seeker. You are the bridge builder. You are the one who remembers the language the world has forgotten. Stand tall in your isolation, for it is from that high, quiet place that you can see the horizon before anyone else. You are not alone in your loneliness. You are simply waiting for the world to catch up to the frequency of your heart. And until it does, keep listening to the music that only you can hear. It is the most honest thing you possess.